So, guys, you know the situation with this receiver room going into the season. You got Malik Nabers locked in as the guy, and after that, it's basically a logjam of names everybody already knows. Darius Slayton, Calvin Austin, Darnell Mooney, Odell Beckham, and Juju Smith-Schuster. A whole list of guys fighting for that number 2, number 3 spot, and honestly, none of them really jump off the page and scare a defense. And while everybody's stuck arguing over that same group of names, the coaching staff has quietly been sitting on somebody else, a guy who isn't even part of that conversation right now. And they believe he can be a real factor for this offense this season, not down the road. What's up, Big Blue? Welcome to the NFL Playbook Giants. If you're new here, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. So, let me actually get into it, because this is the guy I've been talking about, and it's Malachi Fields. And once I started watching his tape, man, I understood quickly why the coaching staff is talking about him like a right-now piece and not a project. They think he can step in and matter immediately. And honestly, after watching what I watched, I'm inclined to agree with them. Now, let me start with the first thing that jumped out at me, and it's his ability to adjust when the ball isn't exactly where it's supposed to be. Because look, quarterbacks are going to miss throws. That's just football. It happens at every level. What separates guys is what they do when that happens. And there's a play from the Senior Bowl I want to bring up where you see the quarterback rolling out, stepping up in the pocket, and he chucks one down the field. Now, this ball is not perfectly placed. It's not a bad decision necessarily, but it's not an easy throw either because he's throwing off his back foot, and it kind of sails on him toward the middle of the field. And Malachi Fields is running basically a post route, getting down the field expecting one thing, and the ball comes in a completely different spot than where he expected it. And the adjustment he makes in the air, honestly, it's kind of nuts to watch. He's got to reroute his whole body, look up, track the ball late, and still come down with the catch. That's not something you can coach easily. That's just feel. That's just body control. And when I see a receiver who can bail out a quarterback like that, that tells me a lot about how valuable he's going to be in this offense. Now let's get into probably my favorite part of his game, and that's his ability to win those 50-50 balls. Because look, every team needs a guy who, when it's one-on-one down the field and there's no safety over the top, you can just chuck it up and trust him to go get it. That's a specific skill set. Not everybody has that, and with Malachi Fields, I keep seeing it over and over on his tape. There's a rep where he's going up with one arm through contact, laying out, and comes down with the football like it's nothing. I mean, I watched that a few times just to make sure I wasn't seeing things, and yeah, he does it again on another play, gets good separation off the line, not enough to draw a flag, but enough to work with, and then just plucks the ball out of the sky through contact. That was against Will Lee on that one, but regardless of who it was, that catch radius is legit. That's a guy who turns a 50-50 ball into basically a guaranteed catch for his quarterback. And that leads right into his size, because you can't talk about that catch radius without talking about his frame. This dude is 6'4", 222 pounds, and he's only 22 years old, which honestly blows my mind a little bit, because he plays like a guy who's been doing this for a decade. When you've got that kind of length and frame combined with the ball skills I just described, that's what makes him what I'd call a yes or no read for a quarterback. Meaning, if the corner doesn't have safety help over the top, it's basically an automatic decision. Throw it up to him. Let him go win it. Not every receiver in this league gives you that luxury. Most guys, you've got to be much more careful with your reads and your timing. With a guy this size who can track the ball like he does, it simplifies things for whoever's throwing him the football. There was another rep I want to bring up too where he's got this press man look, safeties are sitting in tight instead of playing deep, and that tells the quarterback right away, hey, we've got outside leverage. Let's go get it early. So the route develops, there's a little bit of hip-to-hip leverage from the corner, but not enough to really contest the football, and the throw comes in on the back shoulder. And Malachi Fields just goes up, snags it clean, stops on a dime basically because he already knows the ball's coming to him. That's chemistry. That's the kind of rep where you can tell this guy understands timing and understands how to work with a quarterback in real time, not just run the route and hope for the best. Now let's talk about how all this fits next to Malik Nabers, because I think this is honestly the part that gets me the most excited. Malik Nabers is obviously the guy in this room, nobody's debating that. But when you put a receiver like Malachi Fields on the other side, somebody who can win outside, who can go up and get contested balls, who forces a safety to make a decision, now you're stretching a defense in two completely different directions. Because if teams start rolling extra coverage toward Malik Nabers, which they will, now you've got a big body on the other side who thrives exactly in that one-on-one, no safety help situation. That's a nightmare for a secondary, honestly. You can't just gang up on one guy anymore. And that ties right into why I think he can genuinely help Jaxson Dart. Because look, when you've got a big physical target who can go up and win 50-50 balls, that takes a lot of pressure off a young quarterback. You don't have to be perfect with your placement every single time. If it's close, if it's contested, you trust your guy to go make a play on it. And I think about how Jaxson Dart and Cameron Scatabo are both such good runners, which means defenses are going to be forced to stack the box more, bring an extra safety down to help in the run game. And when that happens, that's exactly when a guy like Malachi Fields becomes available down the field. That's when the defense is thin on the back end, and that's when those one-on-one shots turn into explosive plays. So for a young quarterback still getting comfortable at this level, having a receiver who simplifies reads like that in the field is honestly a huge asset. Now let's touch on the numbers real quick, because I know some of you are going to want the stats behind all this. Looking at his college profile, and again, take this with a grain of salt because it's not the be-all end-all, but he ranked 119th out of 679 wide receivers in college football and 29th in receiving grade. As far as the actual production, he ran about 286 routes, hauled in 36 receptions for 630 yards, and scored 5 touchdowns. But here's the number that really stood out to me. Only 1 drop the entire season. 1. That's the kind of reliability you want out of a receiver, especially one who's getting used in a lot of those contested, high-difficulty situations. It's easy to have drops when you're constantly fighting for 50-50 balls, but he didn't. He also averaged 17, 5 yards per reception, which tells you he's not some short area, quick in-and-out guy. He's more of that vertical outside threat who's built to win down the field, not the guy running quick drags over the middle. And when you pair that with Malik Nabers, who honestly can line up anywhere and do a bit of everything, that gives this offense a nice mix of skill sets to work with. So now the big question, when does he actually become the guy? And look, I think this is where training camp is going to matter a lot. Because with this receiver room being as crowded as it is with Darius Slayton, Calvin Austin, Darnell Mooney, Odell Beckham, Juju Smith-Schuster, and even guys like Braxton Berrios, Isaiah Hodgins, Jalen Hyatt, Xavier Gipson, and Bo Collins all fighting for reps, somebody's got to separate themselves. And based on everything I just broke down, I think Malachi Fields has a real shot to be that guy who stands out early. I don't think this is a situation where the coaching staff waits a year or two to find out what they've got. I think they already know, and I think training camp is going to be the moment where it becomes obvious to everybody else too. And honestly, that whole receiver room conversation doesn't exist in a vacuum, because none of those guys matter if the offense isn't actually built to get them the ball down the field. And that's where John Harbaugh comes in, because he broke down exactly what this offense is going to look like with Jaxson Dart running it, and it connected everything for me. John Harbaugh said Jaxson Dart can live in a lot of different worlds, football-wise. He can live in a power running game, and that protects a quarterback because you make people defend the run, which opens up the play-action game behind it. And he made it clear this isn't a copy-paste system. He said straight up, we're not running a Bengals offense, we're not running a Ravens offense, we're building our own system around Jaxson Dart. And with Matt Nagy coaching Patrick Mahomes before, Brian Callahan coaching Joe Burrow and Peyton Manning, and Greg Roman working with Lamar Jackson, Joe Flacco, and Justin Herbert, you can see why. It's a mix of all those worlds, shaped around what Jaxson Dart does best. And the roster reflects that too. Big, strong, fast. They added Patrick Ricard for toughness, brought in Isaiah Likely as a plus run blocker. This isn't finesse, it's physical first. That's the whole point behind the run game and play action too. You've got Cam Scatabo, who John Harbaugh himself called a tough tackle and a premier back. Establish the run, make the defense load the box, and then take your shots over the top. The run game literally sets up everything else. And that's exactly where the deep threats come back in, because Jaxson Dart wants to push the ball down the field. He did it at Ole Miss too. And last year, he threw 20-plus yard passes at the 4th highest rate in the league. So you look at Calvin Austin, a sneaky deep threat from Pittsburgh, Darnell Mooney, a deep threat through and through Slayton, same thing, and then Malachi Fields, a guy who made a name taking the top off defenses in college. Plus Malik Nabers doing what he does every Sunday. That's exactly the personnel you need for this style. Run game sets the box count sets the safety looks, and guys like Malachi Fields and Malik Nabers cash in on those looks down the field. So that's where I'm at with this one, guys. This receiver room is loaded, this offense is being built with a real plan behind it, and I think Malachi Fields is going to be a name everybody's talking about real soon. Let me know down in the comments when you think he starts making noise this season. Appreciate you guys watching, hit that subscribe button if you're new, and I'll catch you in the next one.